Evening. Welcome to House Groups. We are continuing in the book of Luke in the Bible this week. We've now finished Jesus's Sermon on the Plain, and we're just moving into a part of the gospel where he's really just interacting with people while he's on earth. This week we're studying the faith of the centurion who asked Jesus to heal his servant even when Jesus is not there. And we're looking at the story of Jesus resurrecting the dead man during the funeral procession. This is really a section about prayer and asking God to move. I mean, you look at the Roman centurion, for instance, and he's asking God to do something miraculous because he's praying upon the strength of Christ and not his own strength. I mean, he admits that he's not worthy. He says, I'm not even worthy to have Jesus come into my house. And it makes me wonder if we realize just how strong and how powerful Jesus is. Like, listen, I know that you can all sit in your small group tonight and say, oh, yeah, I believe God is powerful. Anybody can say that, but do we really believe that? I was reading a story not too long ago about a pastor who had a group of Laotian refugees who started attending his church, but they didn't know much about Christ. And when they expressed some interest in God, he recommended, hey, let's get together, let's do kind of a Bible study. And he began to walk them through the Gospel of Mark. And the pastor writes that the Laotians' lack of Christian knowledge and when they got together in the Bible study actually made for really interesting Bible studies. He said that after they read the passage in which Jesus calms the storm, he said he usually went into what he usually did when he was talking with more theologically sophisticated folks. And he started talking about the storms of our lives. And he said, like, okay, and think through the storms of your lives, guys, and how can Jesus calm the storms of your life? You know, how can he help you with your sadness? How can he help you find a better job? And he said the refugees looked back at him completely puzzled. He said there was this incredibly awkward silence. And eventually one of the men looked up at him and said, Do you mean that this Jesus actually calmed the wind and the sea in the middle of the storm? And the pastor thought maybe the man was finding the story incredulous or unbelievable. And he didn't want to get distracted, with the problem of miracles. And he replied, yeah. Yes, I do. But let's not get hung up on miracles. We should remember that Jesus can calm the storms of our lives. And he said there's another super long stretch of awkward silence until another one of the refugees replied, well, if this Jesus actually really calmed the wind and the sea, then this Jesus must be a powerful man. And he said at this, all of them nodded vigorously and started chatting excitedly to one another in Lao. And the pastor writes, I felt like everyone in the room, except for me, was just full of wonder. And he said, I suddenly realized that they grasped the story significantly better than I did. See, I think familiarity can often put a fog around God's power for us. Right? And we don't see it like we used to. But okay, think about the story in Luke 7 that we're looking at this week. Right? It's the Jewish leaders who've been around God all of their lives, right? Who don't have much faith in what the Son of God can actually do. But it's this Gentile centurion who believes in God's strength and that God's strength to answer prayer is incredibly powerful. And so my encouragement to you tonight is as you get into your small groups to actually talk through, investigate your own life. Whose strength are you praying upon, right? Are you praying upon your own strength, or are you praying upon the strength of Christ? Because he indeed can do all things. Amen.